It is made of solid steel, and it is a very important part of our history. This is the actual U505 that was captured off the northwest coast of Africa on June 4th of 1944. It stands here today as a permanent war memorial to all of the men and women who gave their lives in World War II. What are your first impressions of the U505? What did you think when you came around the corner there and saw the submarine?
Pretty spooky.
Spooky, big. Absolutely. It's 252 feet long, 31 feet tall, at its tallest point up on the conning tower where the seashell is painted. The U505 currently weighs 693 tons, but at wartime, full of crew and supplies, it weighed over 1,100 tons. This is the only Type 9C German U-boat left in the world. Actually, I learned the other day that is not true. One of the only 4 remaining U-boats in the world, one of the others, is a 9C, and that is in England. So, now, let's get back to it. This was completed in 1940, commissioned on August 26th of 1941. It sailed 3 years before its capture on June 4th of 1944 by Captain Daniel Gallery and his hunter-killer task group 22.3. That task group's sole purpose was to sink German U-boats. There were 59 men living on board the U505 when it was captured. They were living on board 90 days at a time. The war cruise lasted roughly 3 months. What do you think they may have needed to bring with them for a 90-day war cruise? Food? Yeah, they brought 12 tons of food. They stored that food anywhere they could. They hung it from pipes, stored it underneath beds or bunks. They had 2 bathrooms on board for all 59 crewmen. One of those 2 bathrooms doubled as a pantry for a majority of the war cruise. So for the first month and a half or 2 months of a 3-month war cruise, all 59 men shared 1 bathroom. They had 63 gallons of water available on a daily basis. That was purified ocean water. It was desalinated. The salt was removed through the distillation process. That water was used for 3 purposes only: cooking, drinking, and maintaining the batteries for the electric motors. This is a hybrid submarine. They would use diesel engines at the surface and electric motors while submerged. Can anyone think of a use for fresh water missing from the list I mentioned? Cooking, drinking, maintaining batteries. What else? Yes, these men were not able to bathe for the entirety of the roughly 3-month war cruise, and typically it was anywhere from 90 to 100 degrees on the U505. The holes in the hulls here and down at the other end are not an original entrance or exit for the sub. The original entrance and exit is through the conning tower up on the deck where the seashell is painted. The space here between the hulls and walls of the submarine that is illuminated in purple light. Can you all see that space? That is one of the ballast tanks. This submarine has 14 of those, 7 on each side. Some of them store fuel, but a majority of them control the buoyancy, the diving and surfacing processes. When it would dive, the tanks would be filled with water, and when it would surface, that water would be blown out. The tanks would then be filled with air. The submarine would become less dense than the ocean around, and it would float to the surface. We are going to head inside in a moment. Watch your heads and step carefully. Hold on to your personal belongings very tightly. Turn the flashes off on your cameras if you plan to take pictures, and hold your questions till the end. Let's head inside.
Imagine sleeping next to that. Oh man.
Alright folks, here we are in the petty officer's quarters. We've lowered the floor here and throughout the submarine to give you folks some more headroom. We've also taken bunks out of this space. There would have been bunks like those all along this side of the submarine, for the petty officer's quarters, I mean. The petty officers that slept in this room did not have to share their bunks. The lower ranked men are enlisted men that slept with the torpedoes there in the forward torpedo room and in the back or aft torpedo room that we'll see a little bit later. they had to share those bunks. That process of sharing bunks is known as hot bunking or hot racking. That means that when one man is waking up to begin his day of work and getting out of bed, the next man would be finishing up his day of work and he would need somewhere to sleep. He would have to hop into the same hot, sweaty, smelly, and lice-infested bed that had just been vacated moments before. Now, aside from sleeping, when these men had downtime, they might play chess, cards, dice, maybe read a book, and listen to music. In a moment, we will hear French dance hall music. This is a recording from one of 87 records recovered from the U505. This French dance hall music was a favorite of the crew. It was also illegal. Nazi Germany had outlawed French culture at the time. Nazi Germany was also occupying France. The U505 had a port in Lorient, France. The crew could easily get a hold of that illegal music there, and I guess because they were out at sea, it was okay for them to listen to. There may have been periods of inactivity on the U505, but when a target was spotted on the horizon, the captain would sound the dive bell. This sent all men to their dive stations. Some would use valves like these and those to open the ballast tanks, and they would fill with water. This submarine would then become more dense than the ocean around, and it would submerge. Once submerged, the captain would calculate and call out the firing solution, the path or trajectory for the torpedoes, and the crew would listen for the firing command. Let's listen to this firing solution and listen for the firing command. Portsmouth, New Hampshire, on the East Coast.
So how did they get in here to shop?
Through the St. Lawrence Seaway, through 405 Great Lakes to 57th Street Beach across the street. They brought it over Lakeshore Drive on train rails, and it sat outside the museum on the east side for a long time, and then it moved to the south side, and now we are under the North Lawn.
Wow.
That's amazing, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you said 8 out of the 59 crew members survived. What happened to the last one?
He was, his body was found in the conning tower. He was shot in the capture.
Oh.
to June 4th of 1944. The U.S. boarding party was on the sub. They replaced the lids of the sea strainer, stopped the flooding, gathered up all the intelligence they could find. Now they needed to get in here to the actual torpedo room to reach the man control. They came to the hatch, it was sealed. They knew that was a bad sign on the submarine. That means there may be flooding on the other side. They also thought this might be the spot the German crew chose to hide an explosive charge as a trap. So they called Captain Gallery down to assess the situation. He came to the hatch in darkness. He felt around for wires or traps, took what I believe is a very deep breath, and opened it up. Luckily, there was no explosion. The men made their way to the back of the aft torpedo room. They reassembled the manual rudder control, that big black wheel to the back there, and regained control of the U505. In doing so, the task group fulfilled Captain Gallery's dream of capturing a German U-boat. All right, now we are all going to have a chance to take a closer look inside the aft torpedo room. You're welcome to step up onto the platform here. I have to ask you not to step inside. The floor is extremely fragile. We don't want anyone to get hurt. All right, now the U505 was captured off the northwest coast of Africa. It was then towed to Bermuda. Hey, buddy, could you get up for me so that everybody can take a look?
Did you see enough?
All the way up, all the way up. All right. Now the U505 was captured off the northwest coast of Africa. It was then towed to Bermuda. There it was painted black to disguise it, renamed the USS Nemo to disguise it in communications. 58 of the 59 crewmen survived the capture. They were brought back here to the States and put in a prisoner of war camp in Louisiana. The task group that captured the submarine took an oath of secrecy. The Red Cross was not notified that the sailors, the crewmen of the U505, were alive. Their families in Germany thought that they had passed, and the German government thought the U505 had sunk. Why do you think it was important for the Americans and the Allies to keep that a secret? All right, anybody else want to take a look? Any ideas why?
Because they had the communication technology that they used to decode, and they could decode their messages.
All of the intelligence, yeah, gave the Americans and the Allies the upper hand in the war. They did not want to lose that, so they had to keep the sub's capture a secret. So in yeah, the submarine itself, yeah, a great deal of intelligence. Now, let's see here.